We're here. Come in the chat room. Come in the chat room. Come in the chat room. We're going to get started in a few seconds. I want y'all to come on in here, feel it. We're about to get it going. Welcome to Hotepish, intelligent-ish talk, intelligent shit talk. Why do you use that word to name your show? Y'all know I'm a troll. I like trolling people who ain't about this real information, who ain't about it. So if you want to call us that, good deal. I'll take it. Flip it on your sorry ass. We are here, the home of the profound and the profane. Where we get it in. I have on the line one of my favorite guests, friends of the show, somebody you all know. This is third. I think this is your third time doing the show. I think you're the first person to do about 9 rotation that's done the show 3 times, and I'm happy to have him back online because he always got the game. He always got the information. For those new to the show, this is somebody who his name precedes him. He's somebody I knew about long before I got into this game. He's somebody whose name has been around in the circles in LA. I learned from this brother every time I heard him on Carl Nelson. I learned from this brother when he'd be at Chris Unity Center. So I brought him here to help and talk to you guys. On the line, I got my man, Mr. Sadiki Bakari. How you doing today, brother?
Greetings, brother. I'm doing excellent, man. The profound and the profane. I love it.
Yeah, the profound and the profane. This is how it is. People think just because somebody give information, they got to be some stiff square that live life by some Mother Teresa standard. Look, I'm a human being. We all got to live. I've been cracking jokes my whole life and having fun my whole life. Just because I want to disseminate a little bit of information don't mean I got to change up who I am. You dig?
Absolutely, man. We want to be in the light, but at the same time, there's no problem to exist in the underworld if that's what needs to come out. You know what I mean? We got the Heru energy and we got the Set energy. We got the Ra energy and we got the Amen energy. So, you know, that's what life's about, man, being able to be in that proper attribute at the proper time.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That is it. We have a lot of guests in here. They love what you do. Oh, crap. Are we freezing up in here? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, brother.
Okay, good. We good. Okay, yeah, I have my little eCam thing is freezing up over here. We got Tasha Ray in the chat room. She said, "What's up to Sadiki?" We got
Tasha Ray.
Yeah.
Is that the Tasha Ray from Lamert Park, spoken word and all of that?
Probably so. Yeah.
Wow.
Tasha's the homie. I love Tasha. She's great people.
Yeah, we go way back, man. It's been a long time. It's great to know that she's here.
Yes. I'll show you some chick named Star. Thank you for joining us. One Punchline, Legion of Knicks podcast. We are live. This is not something that I put up. No. We live right now. We are here. We're gonna talk about a lot of good stuff. You know, we here to bring in information. You know, check my broadcast out earlier today, where I broke down Joe Biden basically pimp slapping and bitch slapping the Congressional Black Caucus and all your leaders you think that are here for you. I broke that down. He basically was like, "You thought I was gonna give you something? I'm Joe Biden." Tune in and listen to that. But yeah, we here with our special guest Sadiki Bakari. So what's going on? Here on the screen, for those of you watching on the screen, you want to know why do I have all this stuff up here? We have his book package up here. This is a man that's certified and certainly vetted and with proof, and has shown and proved what he has to say has affected lives over and over and over again, and is sold into lives. So talk to me, brother, man. What's going on? This is going to be your platform today. I've been running my mouth enough. We're going to let you get into it. We're going to let you talk and take this wherever you want to take it. So introduce yourself again to them, and then take off wherever you want to go, my man.
All right, excellent, brother. First, let me say I appreciate you. I love coming on just for the reason that is very open. And I love the fact that is open, so I don't have to be so scholarly per se. We talking to the people with the people's language, with the people's talk, hopefully so the people can understand. But what I always do, because what we are going to do is get into the ancestors and how this relates to, you know, what's happening today and what is going to happen moving forward. So what I always do is I pay homage and reverence first and foremost to the ancestors as well as my teachers. So let's do that. Let's just pay homage to the ancestors and pay reverence and respect and honor, because it's their shoulders that we stand on. All right, so let's do that first. And secondly, my teachers. First and foremost, Ashra Kwesi. Ashra Kwesi is my direct teacher. And the reason I do this is because people need to understand that it's a process to get to this point or to get to this level. There should be certain things that takes place, all right? So I make it clear so people understand I didn't just get here, you know, running my mouth, being on Facebook or whatever other type of social media platforms. I've had and have teachers that I've had for decades, all right? And people need to understand this. There is a process. This is not shortcut. This is not microwave. This is nothing of the sort, all right? So Ashra Kwesi, direct teacher. And of course, when I say Ashra Kwesi, I have to give honor to his wife, Mary Rock Kwesi, as well. Ashra Kwesi is, as far as I'm concerned, the best scholar as far as historian that we have on the planet, whether we're dealing with Kemet or just history in general, African history and history in general. Ashra Kwesi, all right?
That's a picture of Ashra Kwesi on the screen, people. For those who don't know, look that man up. Absolutely.
As well as two ancestors were my direct teachers as well. The first one I will mention is Steve Coakley. Steve Coakley, if you are not familiar with him, look him up. Matter of fact, besides just looking him up, his son, Steve Coakley Jr., has a ton of his work, a ton of his products.
Oh, he does?
You can contact him. Yes, you can contact him through Facebook or Instagram, Steve Coakley Jr. or Steve Coakley 2. It'll be under one of those things. And you can get a hold of his father's work, as well as Steve Coakley Jr. and what he's doing. He's doing some phenomenal things as well. So we're very proud of him and the things that he's doing and representing his father as well as his mother. So Steve Coakley is someone who sat with me for my first book. We sat in Lamert Park. We went through the entire book. So I didn't put that book out until, basically I got the okay from the master of all masters from a standpoint of what he does. So when you talk about removing the veil, removing the curtain, when you talk about dealing with what everyone now calls the so-called Illuminati and things of that nature, dealing with secret societies and so on and so forth, political strategies and governmental affairs and things of that nature, he was second to none.
I encourage y'all listening, look up Steve Coakley. He's somebody who, if you listen to his work, and I'm glad you mentioned the fact that his son is passing that information along. I need to get in contact with him to get some of that, to get some more of that work, because you'll listen to something Steve Coakley said in 1996, and then 2020 makes sense if you understand what Steve Coakley was saying 20 years ago.
Exactly. No, that's real talk. Amiri Baraka. So, for those of you who don't know who Amiri Baraka was, I still say is, because both of them are with me. But with Amiri, you're talking about a writer, an activist, an organizer, all right? So you're talking about a man who is arguably the greatest writer of the last century, okay? That's Amiri Baraka. Some of you may know him from his poem, Who Blew Up America, in which they took the poet laureate from him in New Jersey. All right. So Amiri Baraka as well, someone who I did many events with, is out here in Los Angeles, UCLA, Cal State Long Beach, so on and so forth, Cal State LA and some other places. So I wrote for his paper as well. So these are people who I've spent tons and tons and tons of time with. It's certain things that you can only get firsthand from a master or a grandmaster. Firsthand, in their face. I'm not talking about watching videos, which is nothing wrong with that, but I'm talking about first-hand type of apprenticeship, all right? These are the things that assist you to get to a certain level, right? It takes decades. It's not a a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year thing. Like, you're just beginning. And I'm saying all this because I want people out here listening to understand there are certain questions you should ask people who are out here as if they are, you know, people of the stature of people I just mentioned, and many others, because I do have other teachers, but these are the 3 that I mentioned as a direct influence that has something to do with my development over these decades. All right. So when we look at all these books I'm writing, Amiri has some influence on that. All right. When you look at me as a writer in general, this is the reason when you read my books, you understand that, you know, it's authenticity about me. My books, it's not the language of your regular type of a writer, because you get the different aspects of me in that writing. So you get the aspect of me from poetry and spoken word to the aspect of metaphysics and quantum physics, to the aspects of revolution and activism, organizing, to the aspects of history, whether it's Kemetic history, Kushite history, the Yoruba, the Akan, the Dogon, and so on and so forth. So you get this mesh of all of these aspects of my beingness. Hip hop, right? You get all of these different aspects of my beingness in the writing. The authenticity is something that Amiri Baraka often talked about. All right? Just the consciousness in your writing. You know, what you are speaking and writing about, how it affects people, the purpose of it. Why are you saying it? Why are you writing it? Right? It has to go beyond you. Right? So for me, I write for our progeny. I write hundreds and thousands of years into the future, even though I'm relating it to today. All right. So I just want to put that out there so people understand it. And I'm going to just be frank with it. It's a lot of frauds out here. All right. It's a lot of frauds. It's a lot of people plagiarizing work. It's a lot of people who are attempting to make you think that they're something that they're not. The first thing you ask people is you ask them for their work. If they're supposed to be a priestess, if they're supposed to be a healer, if they're supposed to be an empath, if they're supposed to be a sesh, a jegna, a griot, a jele, a shaman, whatever it is that they're supposed to be, the first question you ask them 2 questions. The first one, who was their teachers? Or who did they go through initiation with? Did they go through some type of initiation? And then number 2, what you ask them is for their work. You can't be these things and not have any work.
You can't be.
And let me make this clear. Let me make it clear. A Facebook status is not work. Let me make it clear. See, we got to get beyond where we are with virtual reality and what's happening now, you know, in this artificial world. All right. So I'm just laying some things out so people can understand, because anyone can promote themselves a certain way on the internet. All right. But when you get off of the internet, show me your work.
Yeah.
If you are an organizer, well, what have you organized?
If you're a helper, who have you helped?
Absolutely. So these are things that have to be a mainstay. So I don't have a problem, right? Because when it comes to work, it precedes me. It precedes the people that I already mentioned.
And you got the word.
It precedes. Yeah. It precedes
you
the
got
Professor
the word.
Griff.
Look, I tell people all the time, like when invited me on Because I had some people actually hit me up to ask you to put me on, but I already knew who you were because the only reason why I knew who you were is because of the works that you put out. People can only talk about and give compliment to and recommend people who they've actually worked with. Basically, what he's saying is, folks, you got people running around here. This is what he's saying. Look. He's saying you got people running around here talking about, I got a long history of feeding the homeless. Look. If you fed, you throwing the rest of your Popeye's chicken out the window to that brother at the gas station ain't feeding the homeless, homie. We said if you fed the homeless, you at least got a receipt book or something. That's all we saying when we comes to, because oftentimes people get disenchanted. Oftentimes when people say, I'm not going to give to this organization, I'm not going to listen to that person or listen to this person, it's because you gave to a fraudulent place, you listened to a fraud. And what he's basically trying to say is one way to buffer against, there's no foolproof, but the one main way to buffer against finding information out from a fraud is, nigga, what have you done? And if we vet, okay, what have you done? Then we can then get through a lot of the BS, because you got a lot of fakers, frauds, and phonies out here perpetrating the game, faking, acting as if they doing something, but they ain't got now one damn tangible receipt to prove it. Who we have here, Brother Bakari, is somebody with tangible receipts, somebody with a track record, and basically saying, look, man, watch out for these snakes out there. They all around.
Correct. We can't talk about we can't talk about spirituality. We can't talk about transformation. We can't talk about self-mastery, the shift, the reset, all these different things. Yet we have people out here that are not those things. You listen, plagiarism, frauds, all these different things. This is not moving us forward. Now we know we're going to see it, because we know you're going to deal with balance and polarity. So we know they're going to be out here. But the point I'm making is for people to be more aware, to be better aware, because at the end of the day, we know these people, right? Because we've been here. So you know the person who started coming to the comedy club last year because you was at the comedy club the last 15 years. Yeah. You see what I mean? Yeah. And then this person that came last year, which you're excited about because the new blood is amazing. That's what keeps it moving. That's what keeps it going. That's what keeps the creativity flowing. However, that person does not have the experience that you have. That person does not have the know-how that you have. That person does not have the wisdom that you have. That person does not have the resume that you have, nor the respect, nor the accountability, none of those different things. So that's what I'm saying. We just have to understand that in order to move forward, resume that you have, nor the respect, we have to be. Like you can't teach someone mastery and you yourself haven't mastered the particular thing that you're attempting to teach someone. And this is an issue that we have. So we have all these people out here now because of this internet. See, prior to the internet and social media, it was clear who was who. It was clear because everything was pretty much a downline, so to speak, almost like genetics, right? Like an ancestry, so to speak. Yeah. So what do I mean by that? So my direct teacher is Ashwa Kwesi. Ashwa Kwesi's direct teacher is Dr. Ben. So these things was clear, right? So we understood, oh, okay, yeah, we know Brother Sadiki. You know, Brother Sadiki deals with Ashwa Kwesi. He opens up for Ashwa Kwesi every now and then when he comes to LA. You know, Brother Okira opens up for Ashwa Kwesi when he comes to LA. So we could see this protocol, so to speak, right? We could see the progeny, so to speak. So we could see it. You see what I'm saying? We could see the Mathua tier. So we could see all these people that's in this progeny of a Dr. Ben. You see what I'm saying? So you didn't have the internet to make these things so confusing, right? So now that you got social media, things start to get confusing because, you know, people are able to just, say whatever they want to say. They can say whatever they want to say these days, man. And most people never check it. You see what I'm saying? They never check. They just take the person's word for it. You see what I'm saying? So it's a very interesting dynamic, and we'll get more into social media and virtual reality and artificial intelligence at some point.
Let's get into it. I remember one reason why I wanted you to come on today, because I know we're going into a new year, and you made a post and you're talking about ancestors. And one thing I like to make it plain. What's the importance of people connecting to their ancestors, and how can that be used? How can they use that to propel themselves forward? And what's this whole talk when people talk about ancestors? Make that plain, make that clear from your point of view, what that is for the listeners.
Okay, so first of all, because most people are disconnected from the ancestors and ancestry, they disconnect themselves from true power.
Yes.
So when we deal with power, that power is connected to the ancestors. You don't exist without the ancestors, right? So when we look at the ancestors is a genome, so to speak. All right, so let me explain what a genome is. A genome is an organism, all right, that's complete. All right, so complete meaning DNA, complete meaning is genes, complete meaning all of the things that is part of that genome. So when we talk about what's part of that genome, you're talking about cellular memory, you're talking about your intuition, you're talking about consciousness, you're talking about awareness, you're talking about the imagination, you're talking about the neurological self, all right? So we're talking about all these different things that exist in us because of our connection to our ancestors, right? So your mother and your father, their mother and father, their mother and father, their mother and father, their mother and father, on and on and on and on, all right? So all of that is part of us, all right? So when we deal with this notion of the past, the present, and the future, you're dealing with the ancestors, because there is no past without the ancestors. There is no present without the ancestors. There is no future without the ancestors. Because once you deal with the so-called future, you become the ancestor. So when we're talking about 3,000 years from now or 300 years from now, you are the ancestor. You understand what I'm saying? And it's your progeny that continues on and stand on the shoulders. So ancestry is important. When we start dealing with the spiritual world, you can't deal with the spiritual world and not deal with the ancestors. All right? So these are things that we're dealing with because the spiritual world and the physical world are simultaneous. We got to understand that. And this is where most people don't really understand the high science. So when you are not connected to your ancestors, all right, you are disconnected from the spiritual world. And that's what we have to understand. When you're not paying homage and reverence to ancestors, when you're not doing altar work and things of that nature, this is what people are dealing with or not dealing with. All right,
or
when
not.
we deal with the ancestors or not dealing with. So
yeah,
when we deal with the ancestors, we're dealing with
oh no. So Skype just hung up Sadiki out of nowhere. Y'all still here? Y'all still here? Y'all still here? Cool. Y'all still here. Skype on that bullshit. Let me call him back. Because this is what happens. Look, we're talking to ancestors. I had Mr. Sadiki Bakari come on because, when it comes to the ancestors, the ancestor work is something I've been getting into a lot lately. And it's something that I've seen benefit me tremendously. Because I'm someone who I never really cared about looking back at my family lineage and stuff like that. My wife used to always get on me like, Dwan, you really need to get on it. Dwan, you need to get on it. And since I've been on it, since I've been paying attention to my lineage, since I've been focused on my ancestry, I've just seen a lot of the fruits of that come back. I've seen a lot of great things happen. You know what I mean? It's important. I always say that's the lesson from Black Panther. The lesson from Black Panther, when you saw that motherfucker getting up in the dirt and everything and talking to T'Challa, talking to his family. You there?
What's the last thing you heard?
I forgot. Let me make this point that I'm bringing right. What was chat room? While I say finish this point off, what was the last thing he said? I know the people in the chat room gonna tell me.
Yeah.
But when you saw the Black Panther movie and you saw him T'Challa talking to his ancestors before he made major decisions, that was sort of a dog whistle to us as a people. That look, there's some real power in this ancestor stuff. So since we know it's power in it, since I've personally felt the power in it, I want to bring on the Jegna who could tell you the game behind the game on accessing
sure.
the power of your ancestors. All right. What was he? In the chat room, they're saying you were talking about ancestors. We know he was talking about ancestors. What part?
Okay, so listen.
Go ahead.
When we talk about this notion of the now, all right? So this is a lot of new ageism that has to be corrected, all right? So I'm not denying that there is a now, but you have to also understand that there is a next now. And you're creating that next now based on what you're creating right now.
Yes.
I'm going to say it again. You're creating the next now based on what you're creating right now. Because if you get into this new ageism of there is only the now, right? What you do is disconnect yourself from what you are creating and manifesting. You understand? If you can even look at biblical text, the biblical text will give you the science as far as metaphysics and quantum physics is concerned, manifestation, visualization. When the Bible was dealing with, how things was created, what was created first on the first day and all of these different things, that's not talking about the now. The people need to understand that is talking about vision, manifestation, visualization, all right? From a metaphysical perspective, that's what you was being given, all right? So we can't get so caught up in New Ageism, and I'm setting this up for a reason.
Okay.
All right? I'm setting it up for a reason because New Ageism is the new slave trap that people went into coming out of religion. All right? Now, the system understood that people was coming out of religion, so they needed to create something for people to come out of that they still can control them with. That is the New Age movement. If you notice, the New Age movement is still talking about something outside of them. All right? And we have to understand that. So let's peep game, December 21st. All right? The shift.
Okay.
The reset. All right? Let's go in on that because I want people to understand. The shift is not outside of you. The reset is not outside of you. All it is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. And vice versa. It's a reflection and it's a mirror. So this is what you have to understand. Nothing is going to change in your life December 21st if you have not already made the shift in your life.
Inside, yeah.
Period. People need to understand that. If you are not working on yourself now, don't think that December 21st is going to change anything because it's not. It doesn't matter how many energies or what type of energies or light codes or whatever else is streaming into the planet. It is not going to affect your DNA if you have not already shifted your DNA. Be very clear. And this is what I mean by New Age movement. So now you get all these people on New Ageism that got you thinking December 21st means it's going to be an upgrade. Really?
Yeah.
So what about all the other times throughout the year that gives you the same possibility? Why it wasn't an upgrade? Because you didn't make the shift yourself internally. This is when your power comes into hand. Mm-hmm. See, we forget oftentimes that we are the power. That's the moniker of the Empowered Technology Mastery System. You are the power.
Yes.
Not something outside of you. You. The universe is connected. That's something you can tap into. Mm-hmm. But in order to tap into it, you have to tap into yourself. Nature is something you can tap into, but in order to tap into it, you have to tap into yourself. Mm-hmm. The elements is something that you can tap into, but in order to tap into the elements, you have to tap into yourself. You're not doing any rituals regarding the elements until you start doing rituals regarding yourself. You have to make the shift in yourself first. You're not doing altar work until you make a shift inside yourself. There's an alchemical process, a process of transmutation that has to take place. Now, these are all ancient knowings, ancient gnosis, all right? This is Kepra that I'm talking about. I'm talking about Kepra. I'm talking about a renewal, a rejuvenation, a regeneration. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about transformation. I'm talking about empowerment and self-mastery, all right? This is what the ancestors were saying all over the world, man, woman, know thyself. They didn't say know the world.
Know thyself. Basically, look,
know
people,
thyself.
What he's talking about here for the people, if I need to break it down for you, look. He's saying the shift happens internally first. In other words, you got to do your own oil change. You dig? Your transmission fluid change. That's on you. You know, and when you do this internal work, that's what's gonna make you open for the things that are in line for us.
Absolutely, and that's just what it is. So, you know, none of the statuses, none of that means anything if you're not doing the internal work yourself. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many books you're reading if you're not doing the internal work yourself. I can go down a list of all the people who have my books. Tons of people have the books in the library, don't read them, don't do the work, or read them and don't do the work. It doesn't matter. The knowledge means nothing without the application. All right, so let me preface this. Knowledge is not power. That's a misnomer. We need to stop saying it.
Say it.
Knowledge is the beginning. It's step one. It is not power. Applied knowledge is power. And even going beyond that, applied wisdom is power. All right? So knowledge is not power. But see, this is what happens when people don't go through the process. See, it's a person who didn't go through the process who came up with knowledge is power. Mm-hmm. As opposed to applying the knowledge and understanding that applied knowledge is power or applied wisdom is power. But in order to have wisdom, you have to have knowledge, and you have to have applied the knowledge to go through an experience to get to the wisdom.
Chain of events,
this is
people.
What we're talking about. This is the high science, man. So with the New Empower book, this is where I'm going with the New Empower book.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, brother.
No, I would just wanted to highlight, because you said it so eloquently. I just wanted to like really hammer home that point you just said. You basically lined out a process. These things aren't something that just, oftentimes people think, okay, they'll watch The Secret and think, okay, I changed my thought, therefore the world should change now. And you hear something
bullshit.
Yeah, because like we were all lied to, talking about you go to college, you go to school, and you're smart. No, once you learn it, then you gotta apply it. Then once you apply it, when you first start applying stuff, look, the first time you drove, you was smashing on the brakes, knocking your mama's head through the window. You didn't know how to turn the signal on and look over your shoulder at the same time. But you kept applying knowledge, kept applying the knowledge, and you got better at it. And then it's a process, and it's like that with anything. So I'm really glad that you're pointing that out, because people that listen to someone like you speak the way you're speaking right now, they'll hear a lesson, it'll feel good, it'll sound good, and then things won't work out the way they thought it was right away. And then they'll go back and blame you or someone like you and call you, oh, that person was a fraud, or that person was a hustler. Look, people, it's a chain of events. Go back to what you were saying, my brother. I just wanted to point that out.
No, absolutely. So knowledge, you go from the knowledge to applying the knowledge. Applying the knowledge means you're going through a process of experience. Experience leads you to wisdom. That's a process, all right? This is why the elders are so important, because they've applied knowledge. They've gone through experiences, so they have wisdom, all right? So this is why it's imperative that younger folks listen to elders, because this is what's going to happen. One of two things. Either you're going to learn correctly or not. That's what their wisdom is going to do for you, period. So there's nothing wrong with that, because you'll know what you should do or you'll know what you shouldn't do. This is why we should listen to the elders, because they've been through those experiences. This is the reason why it's difficult for somebody that is 20 or 30 years old or 35 or whatever they are, 40 years old, to be able to give you the type of wisdom that is necessary based on living life. Like all that, he's an old soul, she's an old soul. Man, listen. Life experience is what matters. When you learn from those experiences, you're able to stand on the shoulders and move forward properly, the way that a group of people should move properly. When you don't learn from those experiences, if you think that knowledge is power, well, you're going to still be in this situation talking about voting for a Democrat or a Republican because you have not learned the lesson, you have not applied the knowledge, you have not gone through the experiences and learned from the experiences and gotten to a point of wisdom. Because the point of wisdom would tell you, after all these years, it's time for folks to do for themselves. It's time to be self-reliant, all right? It's time to understand that the system does not work. It was not created to work. It is that simple, all right? We need to start dealing with the truth. Everybody's talking about my truth, my truth, my truth. Stop that. We don't care about your opinions. We don't care about that.
Yeah.
All we need to deal with is the truth and move forward in truth. When we deal with my eye is not dealing with opinion. It's not dealing with beliefs. It's not dealing with hope. It's not dealing with faith. It's dealing with truth, period. Not your truth, the truth. That's the difference. The truth. You don't own it. It's just the truth. And it's that simple. And the truth can never be dealt with. It is what it is. All right. So, we need to get more on that side of the coin as opposed to so much opinion. Everybody's opinionated. That's what social media does. Listen, you can't be opinionated and you watch ABC, NBC, CBS, CNBC, CNN, and all of those stations to get your information from. You can't be opinionated. Let's just keep it a buck. Let's keep it 100.
Yeah.
You can't be you're stupid. I'm going to just say it for what it is. Because the purpose of those stations is to miseducate you.
That's why they exist, literally. That's like, to hammer home what you said, the literal reason why these news stations exist is to mislead you and miseducate you. It's to not tell you the truth so you stay in line with whatever bullshit. Well, we always say, look, like Professor Black Truth always says, the media is the enforcement wing of the whole white supremacist system that we're in, delusional, lying system not enforcement, they're the media apparatus for it. They're the lying illusion. They're the ones that tell you the story, create the narrative, so all of us keep following the BS. So then when you hear somebody like the Sadiki Bakari talk, the people who aren't already baptized in the funk, they listen to you and call you pseudo and say, hey, what are you niggas doing over there talking about? That stuff doesn't exist.
Right. And again, that's because of the advent of social media. So you didn't really have those types of situations prior to social media because people were more grounded into the knowledge, all right? People were more grounded into, the respect for elders and ancestors and our scholars and things of that nature. And, the media itself, the media is the number one use to influence audiences from a standpoint of the government, CIA, FBI, so on and so forth. Media manipulation is real. Psychological operations or PSYOP programs are real, right? Psychological operations. Mind control techniques are real, right? Distraction is real. This is what the media is used for. To propagate the Hegelian dialectic or problem reaction solution is real. Controlled opposition. The media propagates that. That's real. New age programming, cognitive dissonance, right? Victim consciousness, charismatics, Barack Obama, charismatic, Bill Clinton, charismatic. But then you have the other side of it where you don't have a charismatic. You just have a person that's just a flat out person that causes chaos and emotion in a person. Confusion, right? Number 45, and so on and so forth, the Bushes. So like all of these things are intentfully created and manifested by the government itself to create a Stockholm syndrome, all right? Those types of things, triggers for emotional.
A gangster and a savior, good cop, bad cop.
Exactly. Triggers for emotion, triggers for fear, triggers for trauma, triggers for paranoia. If people have, people haven't been able to see it this year. A lot of people haven't been able to see it as far as, what the media is doing as far as the fear. The vaccines, people are going to get the vaccine just because out of fear and ignorance, right? Which is no excuse to have ignorance because there's too much knowledge at one's disposal, right? But cognitive dissonance keep a person in that jail cell of their mind. You see what I'm saying? So it's here. So now we're able to see clearly who are the people who will be moving in victim consciousness versus who are the people who will continue to shift, who understands that the real reset is not the system or the government. The real reset is them and their own beingness. That is the true shift and the true reset. All of this could easily end if people desired for it to end. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, that's just not life. When you look at it from a spiritual perspective or my ITN's perspective. So you're going to have those who get it, and you're going to have those who don't. So if you're one of those who get it, don't worry about holding anyone's hand who does not get it. It is imperative that you live out your purpose. It's imperative that you live out your vision. It's imperative that you continue to transform yourself. It's imperative that you continue to go through this alchemical process of transmutation and transformation. It's imperative that you continue to move through these different dimensions of consciousness. Those who want to stay in the third dimension of consciousness, let them stay in the third dimension of consciousness.
Hey,
they are not your responsibility. You are your responsibility.
Save yourself.
And we're needed. Absolutely. And we're needed to continue to move through these dimensions of consciousness. All right. And let me make something else clear in regards to December 21st. I didn't make this point earlier. Nothing is ending and nothing is beginning December 21st. Let's make this very clear. I hear so much rhetoric about December 21st, we're in the fifth dimension. We've been in the fifth dimension. We've been in the sixth dimension. We've been in the seventh dimension. We've been in the third dimension. We've been in the fourth dimension. You determine which dimension you're in. They all exist simultaneously. Those dimensions that you're in depend on your consciousness and awareness. It's simple. So those of you who are third dimensional people, meaning that you're into fear, paranoia, all of those low bottom end vibrations and energy, you'll be in the third dimension. All right, it's that simple. Whether we're talking about now or December 21st or January 1st, you'll still be in the third dimension until you're ready to make the shift. There's those who go ahead.
You know how I like to liken it to Sadiki, and like I said, not to cut you off. Look, people, let me break it down for you, because he's saying all things exist simultaneously. You decide the dimension you're on. It's like, and this might be an old example for a lot of you young motherfuckers who watch this show, but the radio, most of y'all the radio has different frequencies, and all frequencies are playing music at the same time. The music you hear depends on the station you're tuned into.
Correct.
And then the reason why I'm using the radio as an example versus the internet, because same thing with the internet. The internet, everything's going on at the internet right now as we speak. Whatever website you're tuned into is the frequency you're catching up. The problem oftentimes comes in, going back to my radio analogy, is, you see people on different dimensions, different frequencies, and you may see them on a lower dimension than what you're judging, and you wonder why, even though they may appear to be on that lower frequency, why things going the way it's going for it. It's probably because they're in tune all the way with that frequency. When you're in the middle of a frequency, what do? You get that static. And that static is a dimension that a lot of people are in, because you have a lot of people that they think they're one way, but they're doing something else, and they're caught in the middle, and all they hear is static. And if you listen to static long enough, that's gonna mess your head up. And that's what we're talking about here. So when people are listening and they're saying, okay, how can I'm going through this in the world? Like, if you're the kind of person that say, hey, the world is full of haters. Well, oftentimes it's because that's just your environment. There are other worlds where people don't, in the same world that you live in, oftentimes in the same projects you live in, where people ain't hating on each other because they're on a totally different frequency.
Exactly. Excellent analogy, excellent example, and that's exactly what's happening. What you're tuned into is where you will be. So December 21st, in essence, really doesn't matter. What matters is you. Where are you tuned into? I want to make another point too. You can be in the third dimension 1 second and be in the sixth dimension the next. See, we got to stop shortchanging who and what we are. This is why one of the first things I said when the show started was you can get me in Heru or you can get me in Set. You can get me in Ra or you can get me in Am. You understand? The reason I said that, all right, doesn't necessarily mean that one is better than the other, but just know they're all necessary. Now, the point is where you exist in the majority of the time. That's the key. But sometimes you got to bring out Set or you got to bring out Amen. Sometimes you got to bring out the underworld in you. You understand? If someone attacks me, they get in the underworld. That's what they get. The underworld. Because you got to protect yourself. That's what love is. If someone comes in your home, you're going to defend your home. Who you think is coming out of you? You think the light is coming out of you?
Click, clack.
Or do you think the darkness is coming out of you? You understand?
Click,
now,
clack, get back. Come in this home.
You still want the light to be in control, all right? You still want your higher self to be in control, but just know it's going to be that underworld is going to come out of you, all right? So we got to understand that. So we got to understand what these things mean on a higher level. We got to stop doing things like people who speak down on ego don't understand ego. Ego is necessary in your development. You understand? Ego is necessary from a standpoint of protecting your higher self. See, we just talk. We don't really understand and go in and dig into the science and really live the science. Your ego is a protector. As long as your ego does not supersede your higher self, you're going to be all right. You're going to be in balance. But see, people think they have to totally get rid of their egos. Man, those people don't understand beingness. Beingness is expansive, exponential. It's not one thing.
Yes.
You understand? When we talk about beingness, this is why I talked about in the beginning what a genome is. A genome is your beingness. All of it exists in you, not just some of it, not just your higher self. It all exists in you. But it's about mastering yourself to understand what part of you needs to be in the forefront at any given time. That's what mastery is.
Man, I so appreciate you for pointing that out. I want to please donate to Sadiki's Cash App. Y'all see it here above his line. I want to thank you, Miss J. Elite, for the donation. Thank you, Mr. Maurice, and all who have donated to the Cash App. I appreciate y'all. Everyone who's donated to the Cash App. I got a few Cash App donations from my earlier show. I want to thank everybody who donated. I appreciate y'all. Everything y'all go gets put right back into the show. And also, hell, I like donating to my scholarship. Whenever I see my... The last time Asher Crazy came to LA at the Chris Unity Center, I was there. And I don't just pay for a ticket. I put money in the bucket too. Because Asher Crazy, somebody, you pay for a ticket just to get in. You still got to give them the scholars and the love. I put forward what I preach. And that's one thing I appreciate about you listeners. Y'all guys support the show. Y'all donate. Y'all understand what currency is. And y'all understand how I play it forward. And that's why I have someone like Mr. Jegna, Supreme Master Teachers, Sadiki Bakari on, because he can now teach you the inner workings of a lot of the things that we talk about. Some of the things that we know on a grander scale, he can actually work with you, and he takes consultations, and he's someone who actually really does this. If you really want to know the inner workings of what he's talking about, tell them how we're going to get back to what you're saying. I want you to tell them right now in the middle of it, how can they contact you? People who want to know more, people who want to get a little deeper into this. What books do you have? What more about that you have going on that they can get to get the information?
Okay, so I've written 13 books. My latest book, which is Empower Quantum Ascension Technology. All right? I'm going to just tell y'all right now, this book is going to cost you something close to what Jordan's cost you, right? It's probably less than your Gucci bags and things of that nature. But this is not a $20 book. That's the point I'm making. I'm making to you, because there's no book out here like this. The people who have this book, I'm sure some of them are in the chat, can attest to the fact that there is nothing out there like this. It's a hardcover book. I deal with many different topics, you know, from transhumanism and the singularity to 5G technology, on up to 8G, 5G, 6G, 7G, and 8G technology. So obviously that's dealing with the future. That's dealing with what's not here yet. So I'm giving you a glimpse and a peek into what's coming and how that affects us and what is going to happen. And I'm able to do that because of what's called exponential growth. So if you understand the science of exponential growth, it's simply this, is being able to see the trend of something. So let's look at something simple, like computers. So if you go back and you understand, you know, computers was here 40s, 1940s, maybe even a little sooner than that. Apartheid, they was using computers. Nazism, they was using computers or types of computers. So you can look at it from there, and then you can see where it evolved to going into the 1970s. You can see where it evolved to going into the 80s and the 90s. You can see where it evolved to going into 2000s. So getting into all these G technologies, you can see where it's evolved now. Then you can see where it's going to be evolving to in the next 10, 20, 50 years. That's understanding exponential growth in that technology. So because of that, I'm able to show you things that many people are not able to show you. All right. So that's in there, as well as I deal with this year itself, 2020. All right. So whether we're dealing with 2020 vision versus ID 2020 and so on and so forth, I'm dealing with the imagination. I'm dealing with the neurological self. I'm dealing with the subconscious mind. I'm dealing with intention. I'm dealing with I am technology or mastering the science of affirmation. These are technologies that I mentioned. The imagination is a technology. The intuition is a technology. All these things are in the book, and I'm going in and I'm showing you how you assess these things. I'm showing you how these things are going to assist you to have ultimate success for 2021. I've given so many tools in this book. I think it's Gateway 9 or a chapter. Gateway 9 is just a ton of tools, how to, and things of that nature. I'm going in on abundance. How do you create and manifest abundance? Because you need to upgrade your subconscious mind to be able to do that, to upgrade your neurological self to be able to do that. All of these different things, and it's a lot more.
Let me just come in. I'm going to get you going. I really want to put a pin on what you just said right there. And that's the need to upgrade your subconscious to receive. That is some real talk. It's like, here's an example. This is why I want to highlight that to y'all, because oftentimes we get caught up in what we want. We see the car we want. We see the house we want. We see all these things we want. But oftentimes when it comes time to receive those things, we can't receive it. Things come in and you see people run from these things. It's like, it's the equivalent to what he's helping you out with. He's helping you open up your subconscious to take all that's already there for us. It will be the equivalent of, here in Inglewood, the Rams just opened up a new football stadium. It's like somebody saying, okay, I want a place to host a football game that's going to seat 80,000 people. Okay, great. Now, if you want a place that's going to seat 80,000 people, what do you got to do? You got to find ground. The ground that you find, you got to make it sturdy enough to for the weight that you plan on putting on top. You have to dig into the ground, a foundation. You have to then build stands and build things around in order to receive the 60,000 people or 80,000 people that you want to attend the game. It takes groundwork to receive the things that you want in life. What Sadiki Bakari is saying, and with his consultations and with his books and with his information, he's preparing your subconscious mind to receive the things that you say that you want consciously. Am I getting that correctly, my man?
Correct. Because it's dealing with pathology. All right. So in order to change things in your life, you have to change the pathology. All right, it's certain things that people do repetitiously that's causing them to be in victim consciousness or lack consciousness, as opposed to being in abundance consciousness, prosperity consciousness, and things of that nature. All right, so you're going to have to be upgraded. Your consciousness will have to be upgraded, or we literally just will create a new consciousness. All right, we imprint a new consciousness, and there's things that we can do to do that. Visualization is another thing as well that can be done, and even by visualization, you can automatically jump into another dimension. See, this is the power that we have within ourselves. This is the reason that the imagination is being taken away from people, so to speak, because people are being interfaced into the virtual world through virtual reality, virtual environment, mixed reality, augmented reality, all these different things that's taking people away from the true power, which is their imagination. Now, let me give people, this is how you can get in contact with me, mainly for this book, all right? Facebook, Sadiki Bakari, all right? My Sadiki Bakari, Sadiki Bakari. You can also email me, sadikibakari@hotmail.com. Sadiki Bakari is one word, Sadikibakari, sadikibakari@hotmail.com. Now, you're getting in touch with me for two reasons. Either to purchase this book, all right, or consultation, one-on-one monthly consultation, all right? So those are the two reasons that you are contacting me. Do not contact me thinking I'm just going to answer a barrage of questions, because I'm not, all right? Do not contact me just to, say whatever it is that you feel like you need to say that's on your mind, all right? Look.
Say that one more time, the email address. Is it sadikibakari@hotmail.com?
Yes, sadikibakari@hotmail.com. Sadikibakari. sadikibakari@hotmail.com. All right.
So I have it here under his name for those who want to look. I just put it up in the room for those who want to see.
Absolutely. And for those who are listening who have the new book, talk about it. Let people know about this book and how that book has been for you, or what you think about the book. Let them know. That's imperative and that's important. Listen, this book is all over the world, all right? All over the United States, internationally. This book is all over the world. And I want to thank everyone who has supported, who first of all supported. We did a limited edition package promo. And I want to thank all the people that supported that promotion that we did. It far surpassed our vision, and we're grateful for that. My wife and I, Sadiki Bakari, we're grateful for that. She put a lot of work into the project as well, and I want people to know that, just from a standpoint of administrative things and really making sure that my vision, was manifested to the best of its ability. So the project it came out amazing. I couldn't have been happier, but most importantly, I just want to thank the people all over the world that really supported Trevor Matrix Breakers, his network, as well as the Carl Nelson network, his show, the Carl Nelson Show. I want to thank their networks because they gave me a lot of support, and just people in general, who I've known over the years. They gave a lot of support, for this project, and I'm truly appreciative. I'm grateful. Like I always say, gratitude, appreciation, and ascension.
Yeah, and tell them about, because I know you, and tell them about your other books. You have a few other books that they could also get. Are they still available?
Yeah, they're still available. I'm really just pushing everybody to the new book.
Okay, I got you.
And this is let me explain it though. This is the reason, because this book specifically is for what's been going on this year and how we move forward
Okay.
and have tremendous success for 2021. See, people, I don't even hear people talking about 2020 vision anymore. I don't hear people talking about the success in 2021, right? So I don't hear it. We're talking about 30/30 vision. That's what we're talking about. You see what we're in the future, man. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're in the future. Everything that we're doing is for our progeny. You understand?
Yes.
We're thinking far beyond, and you got to understand, this is how the system thinks. They have a vision, the government. That vision surpasses where people are thinking right now. So this is the problem. When you don't have your own vision, you're enrolled into someone else's vision. And if you're enrolled into someone else's vision, chances are you're going to be a slave to their vision.
Yes.
This is what's taking place. So we're in the future. We have a vision. We understand, where we are and the things that is necessary for us to do in regards to our progeny, to set up our progeny and to make sure that our progeny is going to be able to move properly in this world, no matter what this world is. You understand? So that's what this book is for, because it's going to give you, the reader, it's going to give you what you need to be able to maneuver in this world, no matter what the world is, because all you need is the high science mastery skills to do it. That's it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what's going on in this world. If you have the high science, the mastery, and the skills, you can move in any terrain.
You're right.
That's
about
what
that.
This is about. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. For those of you who used to hoop like I did, or if you played football, if you had a good coach and if you really knew, it's all about, if you knew your game plan going into the game, it didn't matter what defense the defense threw out. If you executed the triangle offense like you were supposed to, you're going to win the game. We all know that for different areas of our life. Oftentimes, and y'all know here, we talk about racism. I like to talk about racism. I like to talk about what's going on in the news and politically and socially. I like talking about all that stuff. But that's just so you can see what's going on out there in the field. When you get your internal game in check, it don't matter what's going on outside of you. It don't matter what's going on outside the world. Oftentimes, people get too caught up in, it's haters over there. It's people who don't want me to do this over there. The system is too great. I can't do that. That's a bunch of bullshit. You get your shit right internally. It's nothing the system can do to stop you. It's nothing other people can do to stop you. None of that stuff exists when you get your own internal technology put in gear.
Correct.
That's why I like to bring on guests like a brother's master teacher, Jagnas Sadiki Bakari, because everyone that comes on the show got a little bit of something that you can take back and apply to your own life so you can then become the master of your own destiny.
Correct. Absolutely. Listen, if you just master momentum technology, the science of momentum, your life would change. But see, that's something that's one-on-one. You have to do the one-on-one joint with me to be able to deal with that, because it's not something that you explain in an interview or you put in a text or messenger or something like that. That is something that is going to take the one-on-one situation. You understand? See, anything that I'm teaching, I've done. Okay? Let me make that clear. Anything that I'm teaching, I've done, right? So 2020 has been the best year of my life from a standpoint of abundance, prosperity, all right? Not necessarily production, because production for me means many different things, but in a certain aspect of production, it's been the best year of my life, despite everything. Because guess what? Everything, that doesn't matter. All that matters is your mindset. All that matters is you being able to master and infuse and apply certain principles and skills and techniques and formulas that's going to create and manifest success and abundance. It's that simple.
Real talk.
Some of us have what it takes, but we don't have the know-how. That's what I I can take something out of nothing and create something great.
And we all have that power, and you teach us how to harness that power that's already within us. And,
correct.
And so, yeah, that's what we're here to talk about and to highlight, because 2021, and I really thank you for setting us straight, you know, as far as what because people think that, I've heard people say just because Jupiter and Saturn are lining up, these things just automatically going to happen. Look, people make billions of dollars every day.
Correct.
But if you ain't in on that, and if you haven't done the internal work, and if you haven't set yourself up, the companies, and to have the wherewithal and things to put yourself in alignment with the billions of dollars being exchanged every day, you're not going to participate in that. All you got to do is go to downtown LA. You got Skid Row at the feet of multi-million-dollar apartment high-rises and office buildings that cost $2 million a month to rent out. All these things exist at the same time. It truly, truly is not spookism. This isn't some old, out of nowhere mumbo jumbo talk. We literally live this every day if you just tune in and see the world around you.
Correct. It's about alignment. And let me give an example. So every 3 or 4 months, we have a retrograde, correct?
Yes.
Maybe even more often than that, but I'll just say every 3 or 4 months, every quarter, primarily. We have a retrograde, all right? So the people who are in fear of the retrograde, those people normally have the issues that people fear in a retrograde.
Yeah, the Mercury retrograde fearmongers.
Yeah, they have problems with communication. They have problems with technology. They have problems with contracts and all of these different things. Those are people who fear it. Those who understand that they have the power. Listen, I never have issues during retrogrades. Why? Because I know that I'm the power and I have just as much influence over my life as anything outside of me. So I don't give attention to the fear, paranoia, and the emotional programming and all of those different things that come with the fear of the retrograde. This is what we got to understand. The power is in you. It's in you. So it's what you give attention to. So give attention to your intention. That's what you give attention to. Your intention. So let's talk about the secret. Because I told you the secret was mumbo jumbo. Anyway, all right? The secret was to help usher in this new age movement that's really been here for a century. But to usher in this new age movement for this time right now, because you was going into so-called 2012, you was going into now so-called 2021. We're going into that, all right? So the secret, let's look at it. Is you the secret? I'm talking to Africans right now, black people, whatever we want to call ourselves. I'm talking to us right now.
Yeah.
You the secret. Now, why do I say that? Even when we are talking about 2021, most people are connecting this to astrology, which is Greek-based. All right? I don't deal with no reality dealing with Greek anything. Why do I need to deal with them? The Greeks are the neophytes to begin with. You understand? The Greeks could not get to the level of Son of Light. A Son of Light is like a Grand Master. That's what a Son of Light is. They could not get to the level of Son of Light. They cannot get to the level of so-called intelligentsia. All right? They were at the level of, which is the baby level of neophyte. All right? So when you understand the history, you understand that what they were doing was copying things and misinterpreting things and putting their own spin on things, remixing things, plagiarizing things. That's what Greeks did. That's Greek philosophy. It's African whatever that was being manipulated. All right? So if I want to deal with something, I'm going to deal with the source. So when we're dealing with metaphysics, quantum physics, all of these different things, you got to go to the source. Now, to go to the source, what does that mean? That means you got to go deep into the interior of the Nile Valley or the Happy Valley. See, people don't like when you start talking about Africa, but that's where you got to go. if you want to deal with the true high science. Not talking about no aliens and no spaceships. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that walked on this planet where we have the documentation. You don't understand what's going on this planet, and you want to talk about what's going on everywhere else. See, this is the problem that we have.
Yeah.
We want to attribute everything to something that we don't understand based on something that we don't understand. So when we look at the Greeks, when we look at the Romans, when we look at all of these people, what do we see? We see a misinterpretation of a true interpretation. So whether we're dealing with quote-unquote God, misinterpretation of the true interpretation. There was no God in our ancient pantheon.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is a whole nother science we're talking about now.
Yep.
So whenever you talk about quote-unquote God, that don't have nothing to do with us. You're talking about a European aspect of religion and how it is being seen and manipulated to the world.
Yeah.
All right. See, this is some whole other something that we're talking about when you start talking about organic intelligence versus inorganic intelligence. Or artificial intelligence. Primordial intelligence versus artificial intelligence. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So people are talking about books like the Bible and the Quran and all these other books. And that's fine if that's what they want to talk about. But go to the source. I can show you those books. I can show you those books in the original books and tell you what those true meanings were in those original books.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, yeah.
But see, we don't want to have those types of conversations. When you understand those things, you understand what's going on today.
Well,
this is why we opened up talking about the ancestors.
Exactly.
You see what I mean? What was the ancestors writing and why were they writing it? So you can't have someone else interpret your experience and then you take their interpretation as the true experience.
Yeah.
You understand? If you and I go to the Laker game, we went to the Laker game. We sat in the front row. We watched the game. Okay? And someone only sees the highlights. Who do you think has the greater experience?
The person watching the game, which is why I'm always pointing out to y'all like talking basketball. Y'all watch highlights and want to go red and have these arguments over who the greatest. One of the dumbest arguments ever. I'm sorry to go on this tangent, but people who watch sports too much, y'all need, look, first of all, sports arguments are stupid to begin with. But people don't even have the time, take time out to even watch the game and have an argument. They just watch the highlight and then fall out with friends and family over athlete they never gonna meet. Because
I don't have those arguments, brother.
These people be killing me.
Have them. The reason I don't have them, brother, is because there's always a person talking the loudest who couldn't make their high school team. You understand? Never got a scholarship. Never played pro ball, but they talking the most. Like, I'm not about to have those conversations with those people. Again, we're talking about experiences. You never played college football. How can you talk to me about college football?
Yeah.
You understand? You've never done anything professionally. How can you talk to me about professional football? And see, this is the issue in general, though. That's just an example.
That's just an example.
You understand? So you have people who know nothing about any primordial history. All they know is what they learned in college, which means they're ignorant. You understand? Those master's degrees, those PhDs, they don't mean nothing.
They don't mean nothing.
I've been to many universities. All right? Those PhDs and everybody else will sit in that room and their mouth will be shut. Why? Because I know their knowledge that's taught in the university because I've been there. But then I have tens of thousands of hours of independent research that I've done on my own.
And
there is no degree for it.
There's no degree for it. And that's why I want to let's take this back full circle. We opened up the broadcast talking about the scholars that you studied directly under. That's why that matters. If for people who were, a lot of y'all have been, thank you for the 100. We got over 150 people in here across all platforms. I only got 45 likes on YouTube. I got over 100 in here on YouTube, only 45 likes. Like this shit and share it. Stop fucking around. The reason why we he brought up the fact that he studied directly under Ashur directly, and those scholars, is because when you study directly under somebody like that, when you have the mentor, somebody like a Sadiki Bakari has, he not only has the information from his personal first-hand study that he studied to teach us where we're going moving forward, he has that deep, in-depth knowledge of the people who've been studying this information. Asher Kwesi's been studying and teaching this information for what, over 50 years? So, like John Henry Clark says, history is like a slingshot. The further the back you can draw back in history, the further you can tell you're going to shoot out. So when you're dealing with a brother like a Sadiki Bakari, not only are you dealing with his first-hand information, you're dealing with somebody who learned directly under literally the forefathers of Black consciousness and thought. When you're talking about Steve Coakley, when you hear these people talking about the Boule now, when you hear these people talking about secret societies, Steve Coakley literally died giving us this information, telling us who these... He told us who Roland Martin and Al Sharpton was 30 years ago. We just now catching up. Steve Coakley, a lot of the players we see in media, in the Black spheres that quote unquote got the power, he told us about them back in the 90s. And so that's why I like having this type of a platform, so we can get the information spread to you guys, so you can then listen and decipher for yourself. I saw people in the chat room earlier talking about you, Mr. Sadiki. They were talking about how they just trust and learned and loved what you had to say, because they can hear in the calmness of your voice and what you're saying and the clarity that you're coming with a wealth of knowledge that, look, man, if you open to it, you about to learn something today. So, again, that's why I say I thank you for coming on. And go back to what you were saying, wherever you were. I know you're gonna tying everything into Ascension, into your information. Whatever you got to say, moving forward, you got the microphone, my brother.
All right, so let's go back and get into these levels of consciousness. All right, these dimensions. I made a statement because I wanted people to understand. You can be in the third dimension right now, and literally in seconds, you can shift to the fifth dimension or the sixth dimension. But I'm going to go through these dimensions because I want people to understand. Visualization plays a role in that. Meditation plays a role in that. Affirmations plays a role in that. Setting intentions plays a role in that. Altar work plays a role in that. Grounding plays a role in that. All of these different things plays a role in that. And there's many other types of rituals that can be done. Some are sacred, so I would never talk about them publicly. But there's tons of rituals that helps connect you not only to the ancestors, but to higher dimensions of consciousness. All right. And this is the whole purpose of the government, to keep you distracted from you tapping into that divinity that exists within you, tapping into that quote unquote God self. I'm only using the term God so people have an idea of what I'm saying. But, God really is not a term that suffices for some of us. Let me just put it that way. So third dimension. So the third dimension is, again, what we see with the fear mongering, people who are in fear, people who are in trauma, and those fears and those traumas control them, people who cannot control their emotions. Those are third dimensional people. People who are physical, material, money, all right? And there's nothing wrong with money. But I'm saying from a standpoint of money controlling you versus you controlling it. All right. Those are third dimensional people, right? Again, people who are on a low vibration. All right. People who are called so-called haters, right? Even though they serve a purpose, right? People who are jealous, people who are envious, people who have low self-esteem, people who lack confidence. All of those people are in third dimensional consciousness. All right. Fourth dimensional consciousness. So fourth dimensional consciousness is when a person wills themselves to no longer be in the third dimension. So what does that mean? They start asking questions. All right. So now they're starting to think critically and analytically. They want answers. They're seekers. They want to become more aware. They start going from belief system into truth and gnosis. All right? That's your fourth dimension. So your fourth dimension is the conduit between the third and the fifth dimension. Now, when you get to the fifth dimension, this is when the person in the fourth dimension, when things begin to click. What does that mean? When you're in the fifth dimension or fifth dimensional consciousness, you're dealing with the knowledge and the high science, all right, on another level. You're becoming activated now, meaning tapping into your divine self, all right? You're starting to get more into love, that heart energy. Because understand, in ancient times, when we said psyche, we was referring to the heart, not the brain. You understand?
Yes.
So when you understand those two things, or that thing, you understand the difference between ancient knowledge. Now, okay, when I say ancient, let me be clear. We are not. When I say ancient, we're not talking about white people. All right. So when I say ancient knowledge, we're not talking about the Greeks. We're not talking about the Romans. We're not talking about any of them.
Yes,
we're talking about pre any of that. All right. Before they were speaking, before they was able to do anything, before they even existed. That's what I'm talking about when I say ancient. All right. So we were dealing with the heart. So we saw the psyche as the heart. And this is documented. All right. This is not just something I'm saying. This can easily be documented. As opposed to in Western science, when you deal with the psyche, you deal with the brain. So this shows you the difference in frequency or vibration that we're talking about. All right. And I want people to be clear and understand that. When you deal with 5D consciousness, you're dealing with selflessness. All right. Abundance. You're starting to understand what abundance and prosperity is. Okay. So you're not in lack consciousness. You're not in victim consciousness. All right. So you have now evolved from third dimensional and fourth dimensional consciousness. This is where the system does not want you to be. Because if you are at least at fifth dimensional consciousness, they can't do nothing with you. So this is why they're not concerned with the 1% or the 5% who is demonstrating fifth dimensional consciousness consistently. They're not concerned with the 1% or the 5%. Their concern is the other 85, 90%, 95% who are in third dimensional consciousness. You understand? That's the point for the government, is to keep people in third dimensional consciousness because you are a slave. And there's many people who say they are awake who are in third dimensional consciousness. They are a slave. It is many people who say that they are griots, masters, seshes, jegnas, healers, empaths, shamans, priestesses. They say they all of these things and they are in third dimensional consciousness. They are slaves. They just hide from themselves. Okay? So we got to understand that. Sixth dimensional consciousness. And this is the last one I'm going to deal with because there's really no reason to go beyond this because most people aren't experiencing the things beyond this anyway. Sixth dimensional consciousness. This is when you surrender to your divinity, to your beingness, to being a creator. Hear what I'm saying? To being a creator. You're fully embracing your mission, your vision, your purpose. Do you know who you are? Do you know why you're here? And if you do you know how to apply it? This is sixth dimensional consciousness. You know how to do those things. You become a living, walking, breathing Christ or Christ, the Kharaz, K-R-S-T. All right? Also, you are teaching and healing on a higher dimensional scale. All right? That's what Empower Technology, the Empower Technology Mastery System is. That is what it is doing, and there's people who can attest to what it is doing. Now, again, in order to do that, you have to understand the different systems of our beingness or our genome. You have to be able to tap into those systems, which we are able to do in Empower Technology. Again, what are those systems? Those systems, the intuition, the subconscious mind, the imagination, the neurological self, cellular memory, and so on and so forth. We're able to tap into those things and imprint or upgrade a new consciousness. That's what this is about. So we're moving into 2021. I'm getting a lot of monthly one-on-ones at this moment. So it will behoove people to get with me ASAP, because it's going to get to a point where I won't be able to take any more clients. That's going to come soon. That may come in the next week or two, because, going into the so-called new year, that's primarily when people are ready to, make that change and complete their goals or whatever the situation is. And the book, or books actually, those things are your blueprints, so to speak. So if you want the type of books that's going to assist you in today's time, moving you forward. So when I say that, this is what I mean. There's older books with principles that you can use forever. But what's not in those older books is how do you deal with the terrain that we're dealing with today? In other words, how do you deal with AI? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How do you deal with artificial intelligence? How do you deal with the world, at least this third dimension, the physical material world that is moving into a more technologically, quote unquote, advanced world? How do you maneuver in that world? That's the difference between this book and the tons of other books. And this is no disrespect. This is none of that. I'm just making it clear to you so you can understand what this book and what my work brings to the table. I stand on the shoulders of the ancestors. And standing on the shoulders of the ancestors and the elders, what that means is we do our best to learn and master their work so we can stand on their shoulders and we can add to that work. So let me give you an example. Neely Fuller and Frances Cress Wilson. So-called racism, white supremacy, right? That whole genre that they've created, went in on. Now we understand there was 9 areas of people activity that they were referring to. Those 9 areas need to have an asterisk next to them, which is technology. And then there needs to be a 10th area now, which is technology. So you have the 9 areas: education, entertainment, economics, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Those 9 are now technologically driven. And there needs to be a 10th on its own that is technology as a aspect of people activity, or as I call it,
as a
human
tool.
Experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this work is moving us forward, yet we still have that foundation of their work. And that's what we're supposed to do, is build on their work, and at the same time, and this is important, bring our own authenticity. Authenticity is a quote-unquote guide tool or source and force. That's what authenticity is.
Yes.
The difference between mastery or a grandmaster or whatever title is used from whatever culture, wherever, the difference is authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
A person who plagiarizes can never call themselves any of those titles of distinction. A person who remixes other people's work can never have those titles of distinction, because authenticity is one of the core things that show and proves a person's growth, that a person is going through a transformation. Because to be authentic means you have to know yourself and be comfortable with yourself in your own creation, in your own manifestation, your own artistry. Simply put, you got to be okay in your own skin.
Simply put. Hey, that's
see what
one
I'm
thing
saying?
about it. See, that's how you know Sadiki is a real teacher. He says simply put. Everything he's been saying has been some high knowledge, high science, but he's made it all simply put. Made it very easy and digestible for those of us to listen to and do something with it. We're getting ready to get out of here not too much longer, my man. So I want you to close this out however you want to close it out, and then make sure you again tell them how to contact with you. There's no time limit. Say whatever you got to say. take as much time as you want to end this broadcast, however you want to end it, to put a button on all the information and game you've been dropping this broadcast.
All right, so let's end it. Let's end it with some power, right?
Yes, sir.
So, what does the Grandmaster have to say about power? All right? This is what Dr. Wade Nobles has to say about power. Power is the ability to define one's reality, to have others respond to your definition as if it were your own, and that the most important reality to define is the meaning of one's own human beingness. So what does that mean? See, we talk about reality and illusion and perception and holograms and all of these different things, right? But at the end of the day, all that really matters is your reality. Now, the question is it your reality? Are your thoughts even your thoughts? Are your intentions your intentions? Is your speech your speech? Is your action your action? These are the questions people have to ask. Because power, again, according to Dr. Wade Nobles, is you having the ability to define your own reality and also to define the meaning of one's own human beingness. So can't no white person tell me the meaning of my human beingness.
Hey.
Can't no Asian tell me the meaning of my human beingness. And I'm only using these terms because that's how people know who each other are by
you gotta use operative terms.
Racial determinations, okay?
Yes.
Which white people made up.
Yeah.
To cause more confusion, all right? But no African can tell me what my human beingness is, not my own human beingness. See, this is when you start understanding, when you truly understand power, and I'm not talking about a disruptive, chaotic type of ill-willed, psychopathic power. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a power that's a spiritual power. That's the power that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the power that's the greatest power on the planet when people tap into that power. All right? I'm talking about the power that is ancestral. The power that's in our genes, that's in our DNA, that's in our cellular memory. People never ask the question, why the hell is there so much promotion about these genealogy tests? People never ask the question.
Yeah.
If you think for 1 second that your DNA is not being taken and manipulated and played with, you're sadly mistaken. If you think that junk DNA that they tell you is junk DNA, you're ignorant. That
Nature
DNA
don't create junk.
Huh?
Nature don't create junk.
Correct. The DNA that they're telling you is junk is the DNA that they're studying, that they want you to not pay attention to. If you truly understood what DNA is and what it does, DNA, listen, as far as storage and memory, every song that you listen to this year and last year can be put on a strand of DNA, and there'd still be room for the last 5 years, the 5 years preceding that.
They already uploaded memories, and they've already. You guys look this up on Google right now. Google experiments where they've taken strands of DNA and uploaded a whole terabytes of hard drive.
Correct.
Like whole
And this is old.
Yeah, like for real, uploaded to a hard drive the way you upload to your Mac PC. They've taken strands of DNA and cells, and they've uploaded literal files that they were then able to re-download back into a computer. That's the technology that we're in right now. Google it yourself.
Correct. So my point is, your power is being used against you. But when you don't know what power is and how to use it and how to will it, that's exactly what happens. All right? So power is the ability to seize a moment. But how can you seize a moment when you don't understand your power? See, everybody's talking about the now, But the now doesn't matter when you don't even understand the now, because you don't understand you. If you don't understand you, you don't understand power. You don't understand how to seize the moment. You don't understand momentum. You don't understand exponential technology. You don't understand spiritual technology. You don't understand your intuition. You don't understand your imagination. You don't understand your subconscious mind. You don't know how these things operate and how they're being used to operate against you. All right. In Empower, we can break down each and every aspect of your beingness, or every aspect of your genome, how it operates. All right. How it's being used against you, how you can deprogram and reprogram it to be used for you for power. Period. That's what power is. When you are in your power, you are powerful. When you are not in your power, you are powerless. All right? Let me give you I'm going to give the listeners a power formula.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I'm going to just give it to you. So you don't have to have the book for this or do it one-on-one. I'm going to give you the power formula. Intention. And correct intention plus correct thoughts plus correct speech equals correct implementation. That is power. I'm going to do it again. Correct intention plus correct thoughts plus correct speech equals correct implementation. That is power. So again, we're talking about knowledge takes you to the application of knowledge. Okay? That application of knowledge or wisdom gives you power. Knowledge is not power. So to be in your power, you have to be in your authenticity. To be in your power, you have to control your own thoughts. To be in your power, you have to be able to create and manifest your intentions. To be in your power, you have to be in an affirming pathology that leads you to power. All right? To be in your power, your actions have to be in alignment with power, which should be your intention, which should be your thoughts, which should be your speech. That is power. Power is vision. People who have vision are people who are in power, whether that's agreeable or disagreeable. You can have a vision of all chaos. That vision will come true. Or you can have a vision of abundance and love and all of those things. But you still got to be able to protect it. That's power.
That's power,
all right? So power is being self-sufficient. That's power.
Yep.
All right? We got to understand that. Power is self-determination. That is power. We had more power 60 years ago as a people, I'm not talking individually, as a people, than we do today.
Oh, that's for sure, for sure.
Right? We know what integration and desegregation did. We know exactly what it did. All right? So now we see, 60 years later, we see what happened due to that.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's not about, criticizing. Time gives you the proof.
Mm-hmm.
So 60 years later, you can now look back and understand how certain things affected us or affects us now, today. If you're still trying to do things like they did in 1967, it's problematic. If you're still trying to organize like they did in 1967, it's problematic. If you still think that political parties is the answer, like 1967 in some circles, that's a problem.
Yep.
All right. So, again, you learn from experiences, you learn from wisdom, you learn from knowledge, you learn from history, right? That's a whole nother rabbit hole. History. We talked about ancestors. That's the reason your history, you've been lied to about your history. Intentionally. That's the reason. Because your history automatically connects you with your ancestors, so they taught you that the only history you have is you being a slave. This is why I don't talk about slavery. Because when you look at that period is a nanoparticle a nanosecond compared to the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of years of our greatness and our divinity.
It doesn't even equate to the period at the end of a sentence, the little amount of time. Go ahead.
Correct. And we need to know that. And I always illustrate that when I do presentations. I show people with my fingers, this is slavery. And I show about an inch space between my thumb and that first finger. This is slavery. And then I hold my arms out as wide as they'll go with my hands out and open so people can understand this is our true history. You see what I'm saying? It totally supersedes just this notion that we are slaves. And another thing, we need to put more focus on other periods of our history. Talk about the Yoruba. Talk about the Akan. Talk about the Dogon. Because white people do. They just put their names on it.
Yep.
Talk about Kemet. Talk about Kush. Talk about Nubia. Talk about Ta-Nehisi, Kaseti, all of these different places. Talk about them. You understand? Talk about the interior of Africa. Talk about the Twa. Talk about all of these people from all over the world, the Ba-Twa. You see what I'm saying? Let's talk about these people, because when we talk about them, we understand where all of these things came from, like hip-hop, right? Hip-hop is eras. So when you deal with this generation of hip-hop, so to speak, or this time period, 1973, they say, right? That's not when hip-hop started. That's an era. You understand? That's an era. The Harlem Renaissance was an era. That was hip-hop. You understand? All over the African continent was hip-hop. I can go back to the Baka of East Central Africa, 10,000 years, they was beatboxing.
Man.
Come on, man. I've documented this. They was beatboxing 10,000 years ago. But y'all think we only been beatboxing for 30, 40 years. You see what I'm saying? So when we deal with our history, there's a connection there. There's ancestors there. And we understand when we deal with the cosmos and things of that nature, or the internet, right? Social media, all these different things. That's the cosmos. That was the internet. The information superhighway. When you deal with our imagination, that was the original information superhighway. You see what I mean? The imagination is the original archetypal virtual reality. There is no virtual reality without our imagination. You see what I'm saying? So all of these things we already were. We were already the telephone. You see what I'm saying? What do they call it? When you can think of someone and they're in your space.
Say it one more time.
It's tell us something when you can think of someone and they're in your space, or you can communicate with someone and they're somewhere else.
Oh, telepathic?
There you go. Telepathic. All right. That's where the telephone came from.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
See, we gotta understand our powers, our and the created artificially because of the power. Because people have studied it. With artificial intelligence, it's not all out of
Oh, they messing up your cell phone. The cell phone coverage is coming in and out.
Okay, can you hear me, bro?
Yeah, he now.
Okay, so those are all things that are part of who we are. You know what I mean? We already exhibit those things, whether that is binary codes, algorithms, computation. You can't walk without dealing with computation. Algorithmic technology. You can't blink your eye. You can't think. You understand and comprehend. You can't do those things without those processes taking place. Matter of fact, when we first deal with binary numbers, the first place you see binary numbers is, guess where? Kemet. Some people call it Egypt. That's the first place you see binary numbers. Where's the first place you see paper? It's not China. The first place you see paper is Kemet, or people call it Egypt. Paper, which comes from papyrus or papyri, the plant.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? So obviously, who was writing first?
Yes.
See, we got to stop playing with this knowledge. You see what I'm saying? And understand these things because it's important. Because again, it's our ancestors. And even if it's not those particular ancestors that you're connected to, you may be connected to the Yoruba or the Akan or the Dogon or the Batwa or the Baka or whoever else. You see what I mean? But there's a connection. The Congo, wasn't no mass popping off before. Well, let me not say that, but from a standpoint of documentation, we see it in the Congo. Mm-hmm. The Ashango bone. So whenever you talk about any type of mathematical pathology, it's the Congo and that Ashango bone.
Yes.
See, all this is documented, but they don't want you to know it.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Even when you deal with South Africa, every time they find something, it's always taking you to Africa. The oldest things is taking you to Africa. Now, they'll try to ignore the things that the documentation that's in Africa and show you documentation of something somewhere else. But all the documentation is there for those who really desire the documentation. It's all there. It's indisputable. There is no independent origin. Every so-called race been trying to prove independent origin for years, for decades. And it always goes back to Africa. Ask the Chinese, ask the Japanese, it always goes back to Africa. Mm-hmm. Their own geneticists documented. So this is not Sadiki Bakari talking. I'm just giving you the documentation that's out here for everyone to see. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But see, when we know those things, we understand that our greatness is a lineage. This is why white people in the system and so-called secret societies deal with lineage. Where did they even get that concept from? Mm-hmm. We have lineage documented throughout the ancient Kemetic periods, whether it's pre-dynastic, dynastic, and so on and so forth before all the invaders came. Mm-hmm. It's well documented, and we have documented. We know when the invaders came and who the invaders were because there were certain things that we did to document that. Yes. So we knew who was on the throne. Whether it was a person of our lineage, because it was a certain way it was documented, versus an invader foreigner. That's the science. Yeah. So anyway, that whole genealogy, that comes from us. Having that lineage, that comes from us and is documented. But see, you're not going to know that unless you search for it. Mm-hmm. And that's why everyone don't just support me. Also go to, I'm going to give you a site right now, Kemet New, K-E-M-E-T, Kemet New, N-U, K-E-M-E-T-N-U, KemetNew.com. So this is where you're going to get the higher science and knowledge dealing with Kemet or Egypt, Kush or Ethiopia, Sudan, Ta-Nehisi or Ta-Nehisi. All right? Kaseti. That's where you're going to get that ancient knowledge that's on the reliefs and so on and so forth, dealing with that ancient history. Mm-hmm. That's Ashur Kwesi and Mary Rakwesi's website. All right? All of that is firsthand documentation. It's not somebody's opinion or perception or belief system. It is firsthand documentation. All right? And let me make this last point. Foreigners do not understand what's in those pyramids or what's on those reliefs or whatever's going on with those particular cultures up and down the Nile. And the reason they don't understand is because it is not genetically of them. This is why your ancestors are so important. Mm-hmm. Because there's certain things that's encoded in you that you can see, feel, and experience that no one else can. This is why I'm able to do this work the way I do this work. Because there's certain things that I'm tapped into that the majority of other people not tapped into, including our own people. Mm-hmm. That's the reason. That's why it's so authentic. because I'm a conduit for the ancestors. I allow the ancestors to come in. I know when the ancestors come in because we are the ancestors. When I listen to myself, my intuition, I'm listening to the ancestors. That so-called voice of God in you, your intuition, your voice, that's the ancestors as well. Because you are the ancestors. It's all simultaneous. It's one when you embrace it and accept it. When you don't embrace it and accept it, you are not accepting and embracing who you are in totality.
Mm-hmm.
That makes you powerless. That's why so many people are out here confused. Because you don't know who the hell you are.
Facts.
Sadikibakari at hotmail.com. You can Facebook me, Sadiki Bakari. 2 reasons to get this new book. I also have packages. You can ask me about the packages if that you prefer, and I'll give you the pricing on all that. Also, you're getting at me in regards to the one-on-one consultations. That's with me, one-on-one for a month, meaning you have all access to me. You're going to have 4 consultations, 1 each week. You're able to text me, email me, as well as call me, and just have that access to the mastery, to the success, to the how-to situations for your goals, the formulas, the techniques, your vision, things of that nature. How we bring that forth and bring it forward in 2021 so you can have an expansive year. Listen, my goal is to assist you so your 2021 can be bananas. It's that simple. It's that simple. I'm just duplicating my success through you and giving you the things that you need in order to be able to do that. That's it. Brother, I want to thank you, man. It's nothing but love. Whenever you want me, bro, you got me.
Man, I really appreciate you for coming on because you always drop the game. You always drop the knowledge. You always bring it. You setting us right for going into 21. You set the perspective right. Look, people, it's not about what's going on around you. It's all about what's going on inside of you right here.
Correct.
And in your heart. In your heart.
Correct.
It's about what's going on in that heart. People are having a whole bunch of heart attacks because their heart ain't right. Their heart is broken. You got to follow that heart. This is the person that helps you with that. And that's what we do here. And I want to thank y'all for joining in. Remember to go to Hotepish.com. Get your t-shirts. Dr. John Henry Clark. Black people don't owe anybody anything but an ass whooping. Get that t-shirt. Dr. John Henry Clark told us straight. Get your scholars t-shirt. Fuller, Clark, Welsing, Van Sertima, Binyakanen. People wear athletes on their back all the time. We're the scholars that put the game in our heads on your chest. We must honor our ancestors, and that's what this t-shirt's all about. It's about keeping their names alive and putting us where we are right now. And now we have brothers like Sadiki Bakari pushing their work forward. So that's what we hear. We got the hoodie. This is cold. It's cold as hell out there right now. Get the hoodie. It's on hotepish.com/apparel. And remember this. I do have all my breakthrough advocacy website should be up soon. My web designer finally hit me back. We putting that together. We're gonna be having the relationship course classes, the one-on-one consultations, and all that stuff's coming up. As a matter of fact, I have the one-on-one consultations now. info@breakthroughas.org. But the website will be up pretty soon. And I want to thank Sadiki Bakari again. And remember this, after all that you've heard today, go home and remember this. There are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages for those who are willing to pick up the game. If the game ain't for you, pass it along. If it is for you, pick it up, use it, do it. Sadiki said earlier, use it. That's how you get the wisdom, and through the wisdom you get the application through the wisdom. So you get the wisdom through the application of whatever game it is you picked up. So yeah, we here every Thursday 8 o'clock, and then other shows. Look out for me this coming Sunday. I have Miss Deborah Ishki, Oklahoma, coming on talking about Aboriginal, Native Black American history, how it connects to this land and other places. So we always bring y'all the information all over the place. That's what we here for. I appreciate y'all guys for listening. Until we see you again, I want to thank Sadiki Bakari again. We out.
Thank you, brother.